In the last 24 months, the sheer consumption of AI accelerators, the engine of our modern intelligence systems, has grown by 15x. Think about the magnitude of that growth. It's an expansion rate that has completely rewritten the rulebook for energy demands. Right now, as we push large language models like Gemini and ChatGPT to process volumes reaching 1 quintillion tokens per month, we are running into hard physical limits right here on Earth. We are building hyperscale data centers that target gigawatt capacity, not megawatt, but gigawatt. The construction lead times are long and the power grid expansion constraints are becoming overwhelming. We are facing a future where the scale of our AI ambition will be capped not by lack of ingenuity, but by lack of accessible, sustainable energy. We need an intervention. We need a strategic maneuver for unconstrained computational growth. And that brings us to this radical idea, a vision to safeguard the future of AI, scaling up by looking way up. Welcome to Project Suncatcher. This project represents Google's radical vision, a plan to solve the burgeoning AI energy crisis by fundamentally moving data centers to space, believe it or not. They believe that the next frontier for AI scaling is not the next continent or the next generation of terrestrial power plants, but rather low Earth orbit, the realm of orbital compute. So, what is Project Suncatcher? Project Suncatcher is an integrated response to the existential challenge of scaling AI. Their strategic response is clear. They are directly addressing the immense energy demands created by modern AI and large language models. The core concept is the deployment of satellite constellations equipped with custom tensor processing unit (TPU) chips and powered by the most reliable energy source available, which is continuous solar energy. The initial timeline is ambitious. They aim for a prototype launch early in 2027, working in collaboration with Planet Labs. But achieving this vision hinges on a critical economic benchmark. Economic viability requires launch costs to fall below $200 per kg by mid 2030s. This launch cost is the fundamental constraint that Google must first overcome. Why is Google doing something so extreme as moving computational infrastructure off-world? Because the growth curves are staggering and terrestrial infrastructure cannot keep pace. Look at the numbers: 15x accelerator growth in the last 24 months. We are seeing an annual expansion rate of 50x in token processing growth. As noted, we're already hitting a monthly volume of 1 quintillion tokens processed by the largest models. The problem is that traditional data center planning cannot keep pace with this volatile AI demand. We face challenges like long construction lead times, power grid expansion constraints, and the reality that hyperscale sites are already targeting gigawatt capacity. But the solution is recognizing that we need a strategic maneuver for truly unconstrained computational growth, a move that prevents these physical scaling limits from capping the advancement of AI itself. This unsustainable growth translates into a full blown AI energy crisis. First, there are the immense financial costs. We face the staggering expense of securing and powering facilities at this unprecedented scale. Second, there are profound environmental concerns, placing significant strain on global energy generation capacity. And third, there is the grid strain. We're already seeing construction scaling from tens to hundreds of megawatts, pushing rapidly towards the gigawatt scale. This demand is rapid and volatile, and it necessitates a fundamental re-evaluation of how and where we design and locate the data centers. If the problem is power, space offers the ultimate solution. Space offers energy that is the most abundant and consistent possible. To put the sun's potential into perspective, its total output is 100 trillion times humanity's total electricity production. More practically, solar panel productivity in orbit is 8x greater compared to that on Earth. Up in orbit, the solar constant, the power density of sunlight, is 1366 watts per square meter. This is available almost constantly. This near constant sunlight drastically minimizes our reliance on heavy, expensive battery banks for energy storage, which is a massive advantage in space. Leveraging orbital mechanics is crucial for turning that potential energy into a reliable power source. In space, the overriding economic constraint is launch weight. as it directly dictates massive upfront capex. Therefore, the design prioritizes mass optimization. Google has achieved this by using a dawn dusk Sun synchronous orbit called SSO. This specific orbital choice guarantees near constant sunlight exposure. This in turn allows for significant weight reduction because it eliminates the need for heavy battery banks traditionally required for energy storage when passing through Earth's shadow. By eliminating the batteries, they have drastically lowered the required launch mass, which is a game changer for launch economics. To maximize computational efficiency within the strict space and mass constraints, they are relying on custom silicon architecture. The plan uses tensor processing units, the TPUs, to power each satellite node. Specifically, they are utilizing the Trillium generation TPUs, TPU P6E. These chips are purpose built for AI matrix operations, optimized rigorously for power efficiency and tailored specifically for the physical constraints of operating in space. Their proprietary advantage lies in the rigorous optimization of computational efficiency per watt, ensuring every electron that they capture from the sun is utilized maximally for AI processing. A data center is useless without high speed communication. In space, this represents a unique challenge. The requirement is establishing high bandwidth, low latency connections necessary for distributed machine learning workloads. We cannot have satellites waiting for data. Google's solution involves using free space optical links that can sustain tens of terabytes per second. This is blindingly fast communication. To enable this, the satellite must engage in a process called formation flying, maintaining distances of hundreds of meters apart in very close formation. The critical challenge is achieving and maintaining these tens of terabits links while these satellites are hurtling through space at immense velocity. The common assumption is that chips in space must be radiation hardened, extremely expensive, and often outdated in silicon. Google is challenging that notion. They are addressing the COTs, which is the commercial off the shelf challenge, proving that modern high performance COTS chips, like their Trillium TPUs, can operate reliably in low Earth orbit LEO radiation environment. Their validation goal is to move away from constrained rad hardened silicon to drastically improve the performance to cost ratio in space. They simulated LEO conditions by testing the hardware with a particle accelerator. The expected mission dose for a 5-year LEO mission is 750 rad. They tested far beyond this. They observed an HBM irregularity threshold at 2000 rad, that is 3 times the expected mission dose. Most remarkably, they tested up to a maximum tested dose of 15,000 rad with no hardware failure. This rigorous testing proves that high performance chips can survive and thrive in space, opening the door for orbital compute. The success of Project Suncatcher is an economic equation tied to aerospace advances. The launch industry must reach a critical launch cost threshold, $200 per kilogram, by the mid 2030s. That is the economic tipping point. Right now, capex dominance is the reality. Upfront payload delivery costs overwhelmingly dictate the viability of the entire project. However, if we hit the $200 per kg target, we achieve TCO parity. The total cost of ownership for a space data center becomes comparable to terrestrial energy costs. Google will then unlock the profound OPEX advantage, free constant solar power versus the escalating costs of terrestrial electricity. The timeline is intrinsically linked to the aerospace supply chain, securing massive long-term launch contracts before this threshold is essential. So what is the roadmap for moving humanity's computational future to orbit? It starts with the 2027 prototype launch. Google will be launching 2 satellites with Planet Labs to rigorously validate their custom hardware integrity and the distributed optical networking system. Simultaneously, they must focus intensely on supply chain management, securing high volume launch contracts below that critical $200 per kg threshold. Finally, they require robust regulatory strategy. They have to develop the necessary geopolitical and licensing frameworks required for large-scale low Earth orbits operations. Ultimately, Project Suncatcher is more than just a data center. It's an essential capital-intensive hedge. It is the strategic insurance policy against the physical limitations that are currently constraining terrestrial AI scaling. Now, before we end, Think of terrestrial data centers today like a magnificent but deeply rooted old growth forest. It consumes finite resources and its growth is restricted by the surrounding environment. Project Suncatcher is planting a seed in space, a completely new ecosystem that draws on an infinite energy source, allowing computation to branch out limitlessly and redefine the very sky above us. Thank you for so much for watching the AI with Arun show. If you learned anything in this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the AI with Arun show. And we sincerely hope that you can join us as a member. All you have to do is go to the description of this video, and at the very bottom, you will see the link for joining us as a member. Thank you for watching.